What's up, everybody, and welcome to the iReach podcast. I'm your host, Paul Robinson, founder and CEO of ConstructReach, a national consultancy and initiative that aims to diversify the construction, design, and innovation industries and empower a younger generation. Every single week, we are here merging education, industry, and culture with a variety of featured guests that you do not want to miss. So let's go, iReach. All right, what's up, everybody? We are back here with another iReach episode. Hope you are enjoying this podcast. And today we've got a very special guest, Siddhant Mehta. How's it going, man?
It's been fun, Paul. How's it going with you?
It's going good. It's going good. It's about to go better because we're just about to take a deep dive, man, just into your life, your journey, this industry of construction that you found yourself in, and then just from a macro perspective, right? How can the industry continue to move forward in terms of diversifying it and some things that you've noticed? And so we're going to get into a lot, man. But let's just start with you and your story. Talk to us a little bit about your journey and how you got into this industry.
Sure. So I think the major thing that has got me to construction is curiosity. So my love for construction dates back to, I would say, when I was in sixth or seventh grade. I had a family trip to Dubai, and this was the time when Burj Khalifa was still being constructed. But just looking at the infrastructure and construction in Dubai, I was just awestruck and was like, I was curious, how did they do this? How did they build such massive buildings, such so tall buildings? And I think that was my first love for construction. And after my 10th grade, so back in India, majority of the students, what they try to do is after the 10th grade, they do their higher education, which is the 11th and 12th grade. And then if say they want to do engineering, then they select which type of engineering they want to do, and then they pursue that. But for me, I was pretty much sure that I wanted to do something in construction. So right after my 10th grade, I did a 3-year diploma in construction technology, followed by a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. And in my last 2 years of undergrad, I realized that I wanted to pursue my master's in construction management. And then I started to kind of have my portfolio around it, start working towards it. And then I applied to a lot of universities here in the United States and pretty much got admits from all the big universities. And my dream university was Purdue, and I'm proud to be a Boilermaker. And I was super happy when I got that accepted result from the university. And well, just it's been great 2 years now in the United States. My master's program was pretty good. I made a lot of new friends, made a lot of good connections in the industry as well. And I think that's been my journey in the construction. And now it's just the professional work experience that I have been getting. So it's been a wonderful journey.
Wow. No, thank you for sharing that, man. I tell you, I have not had the privilege of going to Dubai, but my parents have. And my mother tells me all the time that she is going to take me because I need to go.
Yeah. Yep.
But she had, I would say the similar kind of takeaways as you. She was very, very taken aback in a very good way about how beautiful it is, and talked about the architecture and the design and just from a technological aspect and how the buildings look. And so, yeah, I mean, it is hearing you say that, right? It gives me a little bit more like, okay, yeah, Mom, I think you know what you're talking about, right? So,
Yep.
No, that is definitely good, man, and thank you for sharing that. But I would tell you one of the things, because you mentioned you went over there and you said you were a teenager then, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very young age. But I think that gets at the theme of what we've seen with certain individuals that have come into this industry and pursued degrees within the industry as well, is that they've had some connection earlier in life that has drawn them into the industry, whether it is
Absolutely.
being able to be a witness of a massive project that is taking place in their local community, or they've been able to travel to see something taking place, and they just gravitated to it. And so, yeah, hearing that you got interested within this industry at a young age is on par with what we see. But I would say we don't hear it enough,
Yes.
right? With young kids being introduced to this industry, the vastness of this industry, and the different career pathways that exist, and then what steps they can take, or even being in an environment that cultivates, a pathway toward things that lead into this industry.
Yeah, I agree. Adding to your point, when I was back at Purdue, we had this program where high school students used to there was an event where high school students were invited, and then the construction major students and professors used to share how the field works. They used to take them to site visits, and I think the point that you touched, like having seen this at a young age, a lot of students might get interested in the field, and they kind of go ahead and pursue construction or civil engineering. So that thing definitely has a big impact.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man. So talk to us a little bit, kind of what you're currently doing now, and how easy was it, or difficult, or what are some of the nuggets that you can share from someone making that transition from the academia of construction and design to actually doing it as a career?
Sure. So currently, I am working as a project engineer with Skanska. Skanska is, I'm based out of Atlanta. Skanska is a big general contracting firm. We pretty much build everything. You name it, we have built it. So, how do I transition from an academic to a professional career? I would say it's easy, but also difficult, especially for students coming from an international background. And most of it kind of revolves around their visa status. And again, this is not just my challenge. It's the challenge for all the international students, because you are currently on a student visa, then you switch to a student work visa, and then you switch on to a work visa. And it's just that there are so many restrictions on what you can do, what you cannot do, so many new regulations that comes out. So I think that is one of the major aspects that that is something which makes it difficult. But I'm sure, there are a lot of opportunities in the United States in the construction field, and it's just about how much you network, and networking is something that will land you jobs, period. I think that is something which I have lived by, and I always like to network with people across industries, and I think that is one of the biggest things that one could take away from this.
Yeah, no, very, very well said. And thanks for touching on the visa status as well, because I think that's probably something that could be overlooked in terms of what's needed and how different statuses may change. You mentioned the student visa to the work visa, the different regulations that may come out. When you were going through that process and trying to stay up to speed on maybe changes or what was needed, or to make sure that you were giving yourself enough time to get what you needed, so that you wouldn't miss out on any opportunities. Did you have anybody walking you through that process as you were a student transitioning into your career?
Sure. So yes, to answer that question, yes. I always had mentors, and I read this quote somewhere: "Be a senior that you always wished for when you were a junior." So I always had good mentors and good seniors, people from the same background, and I used to always be in touch with them and ask them, "Hey, how did you navigate this process? What needs to be done? What is the timeline?" Again, not saying that you need to have all the information from that, but you need to also do your own research, plan out your things, plan out what needs to be done. But again, mentors and seniors are a good resource. And again, it's also about there are a lot of resources available in the university that you need to explore. You can talk to a lot of professors. They could help you with understanding, hey, maybe this could be a good opportunity for you, because they have been in the industry for a long time. And professors, they just don't do academia, right? A lot of professors also have connections in the industry, and some of them do consulting, so they kind of know the world inside out. And you being from an international background, knowing how things work around in a different country, what's the culture around here, what are the processes, I think it again comes back to how much you talk with people. The more you talk, the more information you get. And I think that would kind of help you to get everything done smoothly and efficiently.
Yeah, no, that is very good. And you're hitting on something that should remain with you, I would say, for for all of your adulthood. And it's two things. It's being able to surround yourself with others. So that ability
Hmm.
to network and having, people that are within your circle that can just help you grow, and having diversity in that network, right?
Yep.
Because you talked about knowing people from different industries, or being able to get the mentorship from seniors while you were a junior, so that you can approach your senior year in a very informed way,
Hmm.
and having that intentionality with talking with individuals, understanding things, knowing that, hey, yes, I have a professor, but that's not all he does or she does, and that's not all they know, right? They're also connected to employers that frequent, my campus,
Yep.
and are always talking about opportunities. And so, hey, maybe I could talk about next steps and not just school and not just my grade, right? And so it's
Yep.
being able to understand who's around you, but then to
Hmm.
also just have dialogue and to begin to leverage those people that we're already connected to see what it dovetails into. Because I don't know
Yep.
about you, but oftentimes I hear from certain individuals, and this is at various stages in life, right? So
Hmm.
whether you're still in school, whether you are a budding adult, or whether you are an adult, to where sometimes we justify us not being where we could be because we don't know somebody, or we haven't had conversations. But a lot of
Hmm.
times, just those initial conversations with the circle that we do have, or people that have come across our paths, could have or could lead to that dovetailing into knowing somebody else, or getting information that we would not have thought about if we had not had that conversation.
I agree 100%. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So that's just a nugget there. The importance of networking, the importance of just diversifying, right? Your pool of connections and individuals that operate in different spaces, because you never know what
Hmm.
light they can shed on your situation, and kind of broaden your perspective as well. Another thing that you mentioned that I think is very important, and I wanna kind of put a pin into here to kind of hear what your thoughts
Hmm.
are, is the importance of mentorship, right? You
Hmm.
kind of mentioned that in talking through the visa piece, and just transitioning from the different statuses of that into your career. But when did you become intentional about having a mentor, and when did you discover the value in mentorship?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say when I moved to the United States, during my first year, to be honest, I was a bit lost and wasn't sure what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. And I think that was the time when I realized, hey, I need a mentor, or I need to surround myself with people who can shed some light and knowledge on me. And I think what I kind of did was have multiple mentors for different phases of my life, or I would say different type of things that I do. So I would say if you want to do like for academics, maybe you would have like a senior who has done the same courses. So maybe even if it sounds so small, that could also help you a lot. And then having good professors. And I have always had women mentors, and I am so glad that I did. And it's been always like my advisor at Purdue was a woman. my part-time when I used to work for Purdue online and help professors, that time my manager was a woman. When I started working, even that time I had two managers, both were women. And since this is a Women in Construction Week, well, Happy Women's Day and Happy Women in Construction Week. But I would say women have had a great impact on me, and you kind of get a different aspect of or different viewpoint of how you can look at things differently. And definitely from the experiences, you kind of learn a lot, you kind of grow a lot. And I would say, to come back to your question, when I moved in here, I realized I need a mentor, and then I kind of also LinkedIn is a great resource. So I started doing my research work during summer of 21, and that is the time when I kind of went ham on LinkedIn, made a lot of connections, and just because research is something which which pushes you to network. You just need so much information, and the best way to get is take interviews with people, talk with people. And I think I made a lot of connections then, and I still am in touch. It's not just you reach out to them and that's it. You get some stuff done, that's it. You don't leave it there. The main 101 of networking is you keep checking in, you keep talking with them, and I think this is such an important part that everyone misses out on. And I think one should capitalize on it. And I still have so many connections that I reached out then that are still in contact with me, and I still reach out to them for if I have any questions, or just to say, hey, how's things going on, how is work coming along, what are some cool things in construction that's been going around, are you working on something cool, maybe I could be a part of it, and all the small things kind of a helps you network, build connections, and again you learn so many new things. And I think that is the core of having a mentor, right? Just knowing a lot of things, knowing how to do it, and then just having that ability to network with a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. No, that is well said. Well said. So as we talk about this industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit, and I know it's early in your professional career, but what's been your proudest moment thus far? And we're gonna go to both ends of the spectrum. So we're gonna talk about the proudest, and we're gonna talk about the most challenging, right?
Yeah. I would say proudest moment for me has been um, a few things. A, how I have navigated, so professional career basically, how I started and how I navigated the entire journey. I think that itself, I feel proud about it. So going to Purdue was one of my dreams, and I kind of achieved that. And then being able to work with such a great company, which is Skanska, that was one of my dreams. And being able to achieve everything that you planned for and wished for, I think that itself is so satisfying, and it makes me proud just knowing that, hey, I put in efforts. Again, I wouldn't disregard that there's some luck also, but yes, you have to put in efforts, and at the end of the day, when everything pans out so good, it just feels so satisfying. Another thing that I would like to mention is, so as a project engineer with Skanska, and all this credit goes to my team, that they believe in me so much and they have faith on me so much that I have been put forward with so many responsibilities, and I have been managing a total of, I think, 10 subcontractors. I have been involved in buyout of 4 trade packages. I've been writing scope of works for them. I've been managing lead certification on the project that I've been currently working on, just field coordination, cost control. And I mean, just my team being so trustworthy of me, having faith in me, and providing all those responsibilities to me at a very early phase in my professional career. I think that itself is a proud moment for me, and they appreciate it. And I think that is something which will help me grow eventually. And I just cannot thank enough to my team for doing it.
Yeah. Oh man. See, that is very good. Thanks for sharing that, especially talking through what you've gotten the chance to do as a project engineer and the support that you got from your team and from your employer, essentially, that have really created a pathway very early on in your career, which I'm sure was very intentional about not just coming and occupying this role and feeling like, okay, yeah, I'm at a very entry level position. I'm at the bottom of this food chain, if you will, and I'm off to the side processing papers. No, it is, hey, this is a very important role. And this is how you get a chance to make a difference within the company. And then we're putting you in a position to add value. And that's what we hear a lot from those who are either early in their profession or they've gone through certain internships or co-ops while still in school, and they felt like the company or the employer wasn't intentional about their position, and they didn't feel like they were able to add value. And so if I come into a company, because internships and co-ops and coming into a company, I mean, you have an interview on both sides now, right? And so it's like, can I see myself being here? Can I add value? Can I grow? And if you don't have employers being intentional about that from the beginning, then I think you miss out on a lot of untapped potential and a lot of great talent that's out there.
I agree. And so when I started with Skanska, during my interview process, they called me out here. They showed me the entire job site. They had me meet the team. We had an entire day at the project. So I think it's both way. The company being so interested in you, willing to showcase everything, and then you willing to learn everything. It goes hand in hand, and I think that is where the trust develops. It's like a family now, and we share everything. So I think it's like you have to also be like the faith that they show in you. You have to stand on it. You have to take on the responsibilities, take the accountability for it, and deliver it on time and with perfection. I think that is something that develops the trust. And I'm just and it also depends a lot on your team. And working with a good team is such a blessing. You feel so. I go to site every day, 5 days a week, and it feels like you're not dragging yourself to work. It just feels so good when you're there. You're excited every morning to go on site, be with them, and just get work done. And once you see things progressing, once you see on site the levels stacking up, you just feel so good. So it's I think it's a continuous process. It's not something which is good today and bad tomorrow. It's something which you kind of keep on developing, and it's been great until now.
That's great, man. That's great. So now we're about to go on the other end of the spectrum, right? What's been the most challenging aspect or season or situation? What's been the most challenging thing thus far?
That's a good question. I kind of touched on it a bit about the visa restrictions. I think that is something which is definitely a bit of a challenge to all the international students. And navigating through it, and then again, when you switch to a work visa, it's not that you're guaranteed a work visa because it's a lottery system essentially. So you get three chances if you have a STEM course, and if you get picked, you're good to work another 3 years. But if not, I think you'll have to go back, or there's some still ways around it. But I think the visa restriction is something which is a big challenge. Apart from that, professionally, I think at work, the major challenge has been with negotiations and having those difficult talks with your subcontractors, especially with the scope buyouts and daily coordination meetings. So I think that is something which I have been still working on and improving. It's a entire new arena for me, and I've been kind of getting the hang of it. But my managers have been pretty good to kind of coach me. Hey, this is something that you should do, and this is something which we should not do, or this is something that you need to share. What's the right moment for it? So I think it's some small tricks and tips of the construction industry, which I'm kind of just getting to learn right now.
Yeah, yeah. That's good, man. That's good. Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing kind of both ends of the spectrum, right? This is definitely an industry that is very rewarding, but you
Mm-hmm.
also go through some difficulties as well. And I think it's important, especially for a younger demographic to hear that. It
Yeah.
takes work, and you want to make sure that you are stewarding opportunities as best as you can. If somebody's putting trust in you, if somebody is saying, hey, I value you, right? Essentially, and to a certain extent, if somebody is, taking on a certain level of risk, right? You
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure that you you allow them to get a return on that investment. Like, yep, you know what? You made a
Yep.
good decision by
That's true.
putting that trust in me. You made a good decision by hiring me. You made a good decision, by taking a chance on me. You made a good decision, right? Because there were other candidates and you could have went another way. And so it's really being able to maximize and seize that opportunity, and really taking ownership and being a good steward over those opportunities as well as they are given. So no, that's good, man. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yep, absolutely. I would like to add on this. I 100% agree with what you said. I think another difficulty which, as an international student, you kind of face is being away from family. It's like you kind of see them, I think, once a year, mostly with all your maybe say academic timetable, or with your professional careers when you get your PTOs. I think that is mostly the time when you go and see your family. And it's not like me being from India. It's not like you take a 4 hour flight and you're there. You need an entire day to just reach there. The time difference is kind of crazy. So I think that also sometimes you feel kind of lonely about it, and sometimes you feel sad. But then, yeah, it's I think it's that is one of the most difficult parts as well, and it sometimes takes a toll on your mental health. But you have to kind of cope through it as well. You have your friends, you talk through it, you talk with your family as well. So yeah, I just wanted to add that as well.
And you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that too, because oftentimes employers may not even know what a person is dealing with. And, it's not like sometimes it's hard to compartmentalize things as well, because if we're not healthy or whole in other areas of life,
Mm-hmm.
then that's going to affect work, right? Because
Yep.
sometimes you just can't turn things off. And so when you talk about being an international student and not being able to see your family as often as you would like, and maybe you know others that kind of share the same background that have talked about how it's
Mm-hmm.
taking a toll on them and mental health issues or just feeling like they're alone. I think that's where an employer has to create a culture that in some way or somehow allows for those things to be discovered and to foster as much of a environment that allows a person to have this sense of belonging, because for
Yep.
some individuals you never know like how important that is, right? And so not necessarily being a replacement of family, but to feel like they're not alone because they are away from family, right? And they don't get a chance to see them as often as they would like. And so spending so much time at work or in that environment, having a culture that, feels like family and somewhere that you enjoy being, can really help with mental health and that sense of kind of isolation.
Yep, absolutely agreed. And that is again, it comes down to having a good team, being able to share your problems with them, and at least you have someone who could you could vent out to, or you could share some things, and that kind of definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is good. Oh man, I am loving this conversation. So let's take a kind of a higher view of it, because we know like now when we think about our society, DEI is like in the intersection of our society now, right?
Hmm.
And we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the industry of construction, this has been a long-standing area of opportunity for the industry to be more conducive to the success of minorities. And, thus you see a lot of things that are taking place within this space in terms of DEI and what have you. What would you like to see happen a little bit more, or maybe you haven't seen it, but what is your take on kind of the state of the industry and how can it become better in terms of it being a more diverse workforce?
Sure. I think this is very important for every company to have diversity department. So with Skanska, we do have that, and the project that I'm even working on, we have people from all over the place. Even if it's a small project team, there are still people from 7 different countries out of 20 people, and that is a huge number. And this is excluding the workforce. So I think diversity is super important. All just in case of representation in the industry, but also how it helps you grow. Learning new cultures definitely helps you grow, and I'm a strong believer of that. And definitely in the recent times, I would say construction industry is kind of getting representation from all different races, which is pretty good. And I think we should keep doing that, having specific departments and giving chance to have those folks on project is definitely important. I would also say there are a lot of events that the companies could go to, and especially say career fairs. So there are a lot of minority career fairs that are held, and I think that's a good place that the companies could go to hire good talent. And I think that is something which, if companies start doing, I think we could kind of get more folks in the industry. Also, with trade workforce, I believe knowledge sharing is very important. Having that knowledge early on in their career will definitely help more people to get in the industry. Construction is such a vast field. You have roles like, you have trade roles, you have field operations, you have office roles. It's just so much diverse, and there's opportunities for everyone. I think companies on their part should go to these events, look for minority employees, get them hired. There's so much talent available in the industry, and employees on their part should make sure that they reach out. I would say they should, like, it's asking for help. If you see someone, so say I'm an international student, I could reach out to someone who is of the same background and maybe ask them, hey, how did you approach this problem, or how did you navigate your journey? Can you just explain it to me? Can you give me some tips? And I think that conversation itself is going to go a long way, because what you're trying to share, the other person would be able to understand because they face the same issues and they came out of it. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think it could be worked around, and the construction industry is kind of getting a good representation from all races, and that's good to see.
Yeah, yeah. Man, well, Siddhant, it has been a privilege, man, having you on. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. We are at time. I hope that you would come back and be on the iReach podcast, man. It has definitely been a wonderful 30 minutes, man. And you're doing some amazing work, and you've got a bright future. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Paul, for having me. It was great.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks again, everybody, for tuning into our show. Remember, like, share, subscribe to the podcast, and join the movement as we reach to build a better future that we can all be proud of.